Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Luna's father revealed that Poppy was forced to disclose having a tryst with Finn. According to previews for The Bold and the Beautiful, Lee Finnegan is adamant about her ex-husband Jack Finnegan cheating on her with her sister Poppy Nozawa. Poppy is forced to confess their tryst with Finn, and Luna's father is revealed. Lee is adamant about proving that Jack is the father of her niece, Luna Nozawa. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Lee Finnegan's accusations shocked Jack Finnegan. According to spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, Lee has already established that Tom Starr was not Luna's father. Lee has now claimed that Jack is Luna's father and accused Jack and Poppy of having an affair. Jack and Poppy have both disputed this, but Lee doesn't think they're telling the truth. Will Poppy have to tell the truth? During her time at Jack's place, Poppy never mentioned hanging out with him. Nonetheless, Finn Finnegan and Poppy have discussed their happy dance from his undergraduate days. Will Poppy have to come clean about having an affair with her nephew during his college years? B&B spoilers, is John Finnegan the father of Luna Nozawa? Finn and Luna grew up as cousins. But either Poppy didn't know or wouldn't reveal who Luna's father was, so no one ever found out. In any event, Poppy had hoped that Luna's father was Bill Spencer, but that was also untrue. Poppy and Finn apparently spent a lot of time together before Luna was born and while he was in college. There's no doubt that Poppy doesn't want her sister to know how close she was to Finn in those days. Jack and Poppy, however, have both denied having sex together. Sheila Sharp was the one with whom Jack cheated on Lee. Despite when they brought Finn home, Jack lied to Lee, acting as though he and Lee had adopted him despite though Finn was actually his biological child. Spoilers for The Bold and the Beautiful, John Finnegan would be startled. Finn had always thought of him as Luna's cousin. Naturally, Finn was not related to Poppy and was adopted into the family. When he was in college, Poppy and Finn clearly loved each other's company. But Poppy didn't want Finn to get disinterested in school either. Poppy was always there to lift Finn's spirits and prevent him from overstudying. For years, Poppy has been taking happy pills. Since Poppy lived with Lee and her family, it is reasonable to presume that she used the same kinds of narcotics. Is it possible that Poppy and Finn got high together and ended up sharing a bed? Maybe Finn doesn't recall having sex with Poppy, or he might think of himself as Luna's father. Will Poppy come clean and acknowledge that she had an affair with Finn and that he is the father of her daughter? With her arms folded tightly across her chest, Steffy Forrester stood in the center of her cliff house, scowling at Finn. She refused to be influenced by the portrayal of desperation and remorse on her husband's face. At last, the truth about Luna's paternity had surfaced, shattering the foundation of their marriage. Finn had kept this enormous secret from Poppy, the lady he had a child with. Steffy was enraged, appalled, and began to doubt everything she believed to be true about him once the treachery hit her like a freight train. Steffy spit out, "I can't even look at you right now," her voice shaking with a mixture of sadness and rage. "Finn, how could you have kept this from me? Luna is your daughter, not merely a haphazard remnant of your past. Have you ever considered the consequences of keeping this a secret? To me?" Finn's eyes were wide with fear as he ran a hand through his hair. "Steffy, just give me a moment to explain." "No," she waved a finger at him and interrupted, raising her voice. "You've explained enough. You've lied enough already. You opted to hide the truth even though you knew it would blow up in our faces. After this, how could I possibly trust you? All of the things we have created together are false." With his hands up in a beseeching motion, Finn took a step forward, but Steffy retreated, her body language making it clear that she didn't want him near her. His voice cracked as he said, "I have no idea how to tell you. Steffy, I had no idea how to respond to that. I needed time to take it all in because Poppy didn't even tell me about Luna until recently." Steffy yelled, "Don't you dare put this on Poppy. She is not the subject of this. This concerns you and your decisions. You choose to hide things from me. You chose to ignore this secret until it blew up in my face. What do you want me to do now? Please pardon me." Act as like nothing is wrong. When Finn realized he couldn't reach her, his shoulders drooped. Steffy was enraged and had already made up her mind. With pain in his voice, he whispered, "I love you, Steffy. I adore our family. Don't throw that out, please." Steffy's laugh lacked humor and was harsh. "You dare not discuss family with me at this time. You deceived not just me, but all of us. I'm finished, Finn. I am no longer able to do this. Gather your belongings and leave." When Finn realized how final her words were, his heart fell. He started to object, but was stopped by Steffy's expression. Negotiation and redemption were out of the question, at least not at that time. With a mute nod, regret heavy in his chest, he turned to go. The burden of his errors weighed heavily on him as he left, and he couldn't help but worry whether he had just lost the love of his life. However, as Steffy struggled with her grief and rage, Finn appeared to be unlocking a new door that would take him back to his past. His child's mother, Poppy, had returned to his life in a way that was both unavoidable and surprising. They were inextricably linked through Luna, and despite their tumultuous past, Finn couldn't help but feel at ease and familiar in Poppy's company. Later that evening, Poppy realized something was up when Finn arrived at her house with a sorrowful expression on his face. "You were kicked out by Steffy, right?" She moved aside to let him in and inquired softly. With his throat too constricted to talk, Finn nodded. Calm and sympathetic, Poppy guided him to the couch. Finn opened up to her, sharing the details of the tense encounter with Steffy and the guilt that consumed him. Even though Poppy's heart ached for him, she couldn't help but feel hopeful. She had always pondered what it would be like to have Finn return to her life, not just as Luna's father but as something more, despite the situation. Poppy put a reassuring hand on his shoulder and whispered, "You don't have to do this alone. We can work this out together, even though I realize things are chaotic right now. For Luna's benefit." Finn's countenance was troubled as he gazed at her. A part of him wanted to deny the possibility, to hold on to the hope that he and Steffy may still be married. However, a part of him that was pulled to Poppy and the life they could create together with Luna couldn't help but question whether this was the right course for him. Steffy attempted, but failed, to divert her attention from the agony in her emotions. Despite her rage, she couldn't get rid of her feelings for Finn, and the house felt more empty without him. She detested him for his actions, but she also detested the pain of letting him go. For the first time, she wondered if pushing him away was really the best thing to do as she sat by herself in the quiet and reminisced about their better days together. Finn and Poppy were starting to adjust to their new reality across town. Old emotions started to come back the more time they spent together. They bonded by their love for Luna, laughed at memories they had in common, and took comfort in one another's company. The distinction between co-parenting and something more quickly became hazy, leaving them both unsure about what the future might bring. Finn had no idea what lay next. He was aware that he needed to make up with everyone in his life, not only Steffy. However, as he and Poppy sat in the living room watching Luna play joyfully, he couldn't help but feel at ease, something he hadn't felt in a long time. But Steffy wasn't prepared to forget or forgive. Since Finn had broken her trust, she didn't think she could ever trust him again. However, she couldn't deny that she still harbored a deep-seated need to defend their family. It was unclear if that aspect would ultimately prevail. One thing became evident as the dust settled and everyone adapted to the new normal: Finn's decisions would have a lasting impact on their lives. One thing was certain: Steffy, Finn, Poppy, and Luna's lives would never be the same again, regardless of whether it resulted in atonement, reconciliation, or a completely new chapter. Even though Steffy Forrester was accustomed to life's unexpected turns, nothing could have prepared her for the bombshell that had just fallen into her lap. Luna, a young woman who had lately joined their life under dubious circumstances, was found to be the biological daughter of Finn, her husband, and the guy she believed to be her best friend. Steffy's carefully constructed sense of security and trust with Finn was shattered by the discovery, which came as a tidal wave. And now, as she sat in her cliffside home's dark living room, the question hung heavy: could her marriage to Finn withstand this heartbreaking betrayal? After weeks of lies and half-truths, the truth about Luna's paternity finally surfaced. A part of Finn's life that he had attempted to ignore, a careless youth that had unexpectedly come back to haunt him, was his relationship with Poppy, Luna's mother. However, Steffy had never felt such a wave of rage and heartache as she gazed at the DNA results in her shaking hands. The falsehoods he had told her, the secrets he had concealed, and the way his dishonesty had put his family in danger were all part of this, not just Finn's past. "Did you ever intend to inform me?" Steffy yelled, her voice icy and shaking with rage. She glanced up at Finn, who was standing across from her, his face etched with shame and his shoulders sagged. Finn said, "I didn't know how to tell you," in a voice that was just audible above a whisper. "Until recently, I had no idea that Luna even existed. And I was worried about your reaction when I found out. Steffy, I didn't want to lose you." "You lost me?" Steffy repeated, raising her voice. "The once you made the decision to keep this a secret, you lost me. Do you know what it's like to learn that my spouse, who is also the father of my children, has a daughter that he has never disclosed to me? You didn't think I should know the truth about a daughter who has lived in our house and around our children?" Finn stepped forward, his hands up in a surrender position. "Steffy, I made a mistake. I wanted to keep you safe, keep us safe. I didn't want our family to suffer because of this." Steffy shook her head and laughed bitterly. "Defend us? Nothing was protected by you, Finn. You only shattered our mutual trust. Furthermore, I no longer even recognize you." Finn felt his heart shatter into a million fragments as the weight of Steffy's words hung heavy in the air. He wanted to make things right, to show her that he had never meant to harm her. However, he was also aware that his deeds had been more powerful than words. The tension between Steffy and Finn only increased over the next few days. Finn couldn't look at her without feeling the crushing weight of his guilt, and Steffy couldn't look at him without being reminded of the betrayal. What had once seemed to be an indestructible bond, their love, now felt brittle and unsure. Steffy was troubled by the treachery, which affected their entire family, not just Finn's relationship with Luna. Their little children, Hayes and Kelly, would soon have to hear the truth. How could she tell them about their father's second child, whom they had never heard of? How could she protect them from the hurt and uncertainty that this realization would unavoidably cause? Then there was Luna. Regarding the young woman, Steffy couldn't help but feel conflicted. Luna, a girl who had only been looking for answers about who she was, on the one hand, an innocent party in all of this. However, her presence served as a continual reminder of Finn's treachery, and Steffy's animosity toward her persisted. Steffy was upset and heartbroken, but she understood she needed time to take it all in. In order to allow herself the time she needed to reflect, she requested Finn to leave their house for a while, not as a permanent decision. Even though he was terrified about being away from his family, Finn reluctantly accepted. Finn found comfort in his job and in his new position as Luna's father while he was away. He realized that repairing his relationship with Steffy had to be his first priority, but he still wanted to be there for her, to make up for the years he had missed. He used voicemails and messages to communicate with her on a daily basis, but Steffy rarely, if ever, answered. Steffy confided in her mother, Taylor, in the interim, and she received advice and a sympathetic ear. Taylor whispered softly as they sat on the balcony with a view of the ocean, "I know you're hurt, Steffy. And you're perfectly entitled to be. However, if I've learned anything, it's that love isn't always flawless. It can be chaotic and complex at times, and forgiveness is necessary. I want to know if you still love Finn enough to try to resolve this." Steffy paused, her thoughts whirling with contradictory feelings. She was sure that she adored Finn. However, love didn't seem to be enough to heal the rift that had grown between them. It would take time and effort to restore the trust that had been damaged. Steffy found herself thinking back on the times that had shaped her relationship with Finn while she struggled with her emotions. The way he had always prioritized their family, the way he had supported her through her darkest moments, and the way he had loved her and their kids without conditions. The man she had fallen in love with, the man she still thought he could be, was brought back to her thoughts by those memories. In the end, Steffy consented to meet with Finn so they could discuss their future openly. The tension between them was evident as they sat across from one another in a quiet cafe. With eager eyes, Finn gazed at her, but Steffy remained reserved. With a firm voice, Steffy said, "Finn, I need to know something. Would you be able to forgive me if we were in the other position and I had kept this secret from you?" Finn pondered her question for a moment, his brow furrowing. "I'm not sure," he said. "However, I am certain that I adore you, Steffy. And I'm prepared to go to any lengths to regain your confidence." Steffy let out a sigh, her determination slightly waning. "It will not be simple, Finn. This is not something that can be ignored. It will require both effort and time to complete. However, if you are prepared to stand up for us, perhaps, just possibly, we might find a way to proceed." A flicker of optimism returned to Finn's eyes as he nodded. With sincerity, he declared, "I'll do whatever it takes. Steffy, I swear to you that I won't disappoint you once more." Steffy and Finn knew the journey ahead would be difficult as they walked out of the cafe. They were aware, however, that their love for one another was worth battling for. It was unclear if they would be able to get past the betrayal and mend their marriage, but they were determined to try. For the time being, Shin's future was in jeopardy, and Luna's presence was both a reminder of the past and a sign of things to come. It would take time to determine whether Steffy and Finn could work through their differences or if the lies and secrets would finally cause them to split up forever. With her hands clenched around a hot cup of tea, Poppy sat uneasily. Ever calm, Jack leaned forward, his eyes sharp. His voice was low but firm as he replied, "Poppy, I need the truth. No more evasion. No more evasive responses. Is Luna really my daughter?" For a little time, it appeared as though Poppy could crumble under the weight of the question that hovered in the air. Nervously, she looked around as if looking for a way out, but there was none. Jack refused to let her go until he received the answers he had sought. Sheila was instantly intrigued from her concealed point of view. Jack's tone conveyed that whatever information was about to surface would be explosive, yet the mere suggestion of Luna's paternity was enough to keep her interest. Sheila leaned closer without making a sound, her thoughts already spinning with all the ways she might take advantage of this. She lived on having leverage, and she wasn't going to allow this kind of secret get away from her. Poppy let out a harsh sigh, her shoulders hunching as though the secret she was carrying had finally been too much for her to handle. "Jack," she said, her voice shaking, "I never wanted this to happen." Jack's patience was wearing thin, and his jaw tightened. "I never wanted Luna to be caught in the middle of all this chaos." "Stop making excuses, Poppy. Tell me, please. Am I her dad?" Poppy paused and looked down at her hands. After what seemed like a lifetime, she finally said something. "No," she said in a voice that was almost audible above a whisper. "Luna's biological father is not you." Jack's face lost color as the words sank in, and the realization struck him like a freight train. "What?" With a tone of incredulity and rage, he inquired. "Who is her father if not me? Who is it, Poppy?" Poppy's eyes were shimmering with unshed tears as she glanced up at him. As if she couldn't contain her emotions any longer, she blurted out, It's Finn. Finn is Luna's father." Sheila's breath caught in her throat as her eyes widened in horror. Even she hadn't anticipated this turn of events. Was the father of Luna her son Finn? The ramifications were astounding. She soon saw that this insight may both transform Finn's life and provide her with a means of re-entering it. Sheila became a grandmother once more if Luna was Finn's daughter. A sly grin appeared on her lips as she started to think of a strategy. Jack, meantime, was in shock over the information at the table. "Finn? How on earth is that possible?" He raised his voice and demanded. "Why didn't you inform me earlier? Why did I believe she was mine?" As Poppy attempted to explain, tears started to fall. "I believed I was shielding her," she remarked. "Jack, you don't get it." Finn was unaware. "He is still in the dark." Jack shook his head, his incredulity swiftly turning to rage. "I couldn't risk it. Keeping her safe?" he spat. "By deceiving her? By deceiving me? Poppy, this is a betrayal. I could have spent years with her and learned the truth, but you have cheated me out of those years. Poppy's cries only served to increase Jack's rage, but Sheila felt it was time to make her presence known before the argument got out of hand. Her trademark sneer was definitely in place when she emerged from the shadows. Well, 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 she muttered, her tone brimming with sarcastic laughter. Isn't this small family get-together intriguing? Both Jack and Poppy looked at her in disbelief, and their faces soon changed to ones of alarm. Jack clenched his fists and hissed, "Sheila! Why in the world are you here?" Sheila disregarded his inquiry, concentrating all of her attention on Poppy. "So, Finn is the father, huh?" She replied in a tone as informal as if they were talking about the weather. I believed I had heard it all. Poppy turned pale, clearly afraid of Sheila. She trembled as she said, "Sheila, this isn't your business." However, Sheila only made a low, threatening sound as she laughed. "Oh," she continued, "but it is my business. Remember that Finn is my son? Luna is therefore my granddaughter. Or, for convenience, have you overlooked that small detail?" Jack moved forward as his defensive nature took over. "Sheila, you must go," he stated firmly. No. Sheila, however, was not going to be intimidated. She raised her hands in a gesture of simulated submission and whispered, "Calm down, Jack. I'm not here to stir things up. At any rate, not just yet. When I heard you two discussing paternity testing and secret information, I couldn't help but listen in. It resembles a real-life soap opera." Sheila was unmoved by Jack's look, which might have sliced through steel. Her eyes narrowed as she returned her focus to Poppy. "Have you not been telling lies to everyone?" she made the accusation. "Lying to Finn, lying to Jack, and most likely lying to Luna as well. Poppy, TSK, TSK. You know, secrets tend to come out." Poppy appeared to want to vanish, her terror of Sheila overtaking her. And when they do, the consequence is never beautiful. Jack, however, had no intention of giving Sheila the upper hand. With a low, menacing voice, he declared, "You won't use this against us. I will not permit you to."